Have you ever stopped and really thought about how many little choices you make every day? Like the color of a car you might buy, or even just how you ping someone a message. Does it sometimes feel like, I don't know, like we're being gently nudged towards simpler things, maybe fewer colors, quicker chats, even when, there are richer, maybe more complex options right there? Strange feeling, isn't it? Realizing we might be streamlining our lives without really noticing. Well, today, that's exactly what we're getting into. We're doing a deep dive into this really intriguing idea. Basically, the thought that our society right now is going through this odd kind of simplification, almost like we're stepping back a bit in lots of different parts of life, from the everyday stuff right up to the really personal things. Now, we're drawing heavily today from the analysis of Pablo Mera. He's got this sharp, maybe even a bit unsettling perspective. He sees these striking parallels between how we act now and the way people communicated back in the Telegraph era. Yeah, very stark, very direct. He actually suggests we're narrowing the life of the mind, not really expanding it, despite all the amazing tech we have. He's basically asking us to look hard at what we're gaining, sure, but also, what are we losing? So, get ready. We're going to look at everyday stuff, the cars we pick, how we talk to each other, even how we find information, all through this lens Mera calls a simplified society. It might just make you question some of your own go-to habits. Okay, so let's unpack this simplification idea. Mera kicks things off with a pretty striking point about choice itself. He looks at something totally ordinary, car colors. I mean, walk around a car dealership block. What do you most see?
Yeah, it's overwhelmingly white, gray, or black, isn't it?
Exactly. And Mera suggests it's almost like picking a bright color, something maybe more expressive, is just too much hassle.
Or maybe, an unconscious thing, like not wanting to stand out. It's less about making a choice and more about avoiding the burden of having to choose something different.
That's a really interesting way to frame it. The burden of choice.
And what's fascinating is how Mera says this isn't just about cars. He calls it an anemic script.
Anemic script, like weak, lacking vitality.
Precisely, lacking in vitality. He argues this same weak script, this simplification, plays out way beyond just consumer choices. Think about politics. He argues complex issues get boiled down to what he calls a counterfeit dichotomy.
Counterfeit dichotomy.
Okay.
Break that down a bit.
Sure. It means a fake or sort of forced two-sided split. So, political debates just become left versus right, full stop. Or social issues get framed only as male versus female. Economic stuff as rich versus poor.
Ah, okay. So it strips out all the complexity.
Exactly. Makes everything black and white. It completely flattens the huge, messy spectrum of real life and real opinions into these super simple binary boxes. And it ignores all the nuance, right? The middle ground, the complexities that actually define these problems.
Yeah, you lose so much context.
You do. And Mera's point is, this isn't just intellectual laziness. He thinks it actually damages our ability to solve complex problems together. It fuels this tribal us versus them thing. It prevents real understanding, maybe even compromise. We're actively making our public conversations simpler, but maybe dumber.
That's a strong point. It really makes you think, doesn't it? In your own life, where do you maybe see choices being narrowed down for you? Or, where do really complicated situations just get flattened into this either thing?
You probably feel it sometimes, right? That feeling that a problem should have more than two sides, but it's presented like those are the only options. Now, this whole simplification theme, it gets even more interesting when Mera looks at how we communicate. This is where I think it gets really provocative. He argues that even with all this amazing tech-free video calls, sending photos, whatever our basic way of interacting has actually gone backwards in some weird ways.
Right. Most people just default to text messages, don't they?
They do, and he calls this a return to a digital telegraph. Just curt lines flung across glowing screens. It's such a vivid phrase.
It really is, that digital telegraph. And what Mera's getting at here, it isn't just about speed or efficiency, it's deeper. It's about a real shift in how we value actual interaction.
Well, he points out, if someone actually dares to send you a voice note, especially if it's longer than, say, 10 seconds.
Well, yeah, the double speed button comes out.
Exactly, you hit 1.5x or 2x speed. And Mera frames this as the human voice itself, with all its tone, emotion, all the little clues being basically demoted to a mere administrative chore.
Wow, administrative chore, that's harsh, but kind of true sometimes.
It feels true, doesn't it? And his insight is that we're not just picking speed, we're often choosing to skip the very things that make connecting with another human feel well, human, rich, empathetic. We can have face-to-face level interaction through our phones, but we often pick the most stripped-down, least effortful option. It suggests we, as a society, maybe prefer convenience over real connection.
That point about voice notes really hits home. It does feel like this unspoken rule now, that anything needing more than a quick glance or listen is an imposition. It makes you ask, okay, what are we actually losing when our main way of connecting actively avoids depth, avoids being truly present with someone? Think about your own habits. When do you last deliberately choose something richer? A video call, a proper phone chat, maybe even a really thoughtful email instead of just a quick text. And why did you do it? Was it a conscious choice to properly connect? Did you notice a difference? Okay, so Mera then shifts his focus again, this time to how we understand the world around us, knowledge itself. He spots this huge change in how we find answers. The search, he says, isn't primarily between people anymore.
Right, not like the old days of debating, discussing, asking around.
Exactly. Instead, any question, any doubt gets instantly zapped by an AI model. He puts it really bluntly. Wisdom has been distilled into code, the teacher transfigured into an algorithm.
That quote really lands, doesn't it? And Mera isn't just, missing the good old days of human chat. He's arguing that the kind of knowledge you get from an algorithm instant seems definite, often lacks context, or that struggle of figuring it out is fundamentally different. And maybe, just maybe, less enriching than the wisdom you build through questioning, debating, through that slow, sometimes messy, human process of inquiry.
So it's not just about what you know, but how you come to know it.
Precisely. He talks about narrowing the life of the mind. It's not just about reading less or avoiding big ideas. It's about reducing our ability for deep thought, for critical questions, for embracing complexity. That complexity often comes from wrestling with different human viewpoints, right? So in the teacher's an algorithm, yeah, we get speed, we get efficiency. But Mera asks, what's the trade-off? Do we lose the journey of understanding, the skill of critical thinking, the nuance? It's that core tension. Speed of information versus depth of wisdom.
That's a really crucial difference. It makes you value the process of learning, not just the answer. Because, let's be real, asking an AI is incredibly convenient. We all do it. But yeah, when the answer just appears, no struggle, no need to really evaluate or question it, what does that do to our, intellectual fitness, our ability to actually think? Think when you look for info, how often do you grab the algorithm versus, say, talking to someone knowledgeable or digging into a complex article? And what difference does it make to how well you really get it? Can you ask the deeper why questions or just get the whats? So we've looked at Mera's ideas on simplification in our choices, how we talk, how we learn. But what about the most complicated thing humans do? Relationships. This is where Mera takes a sharp turn. He wraps up by pointing to something he thinks actually endures all this simplification, and that thing is hypocrisy.
It's quite a pivot, isn't it?
It is, and he's not just talking about, everyday social white lies. He means something deeper. Sentimental hypocrisy. It suggests that while we simplify so much else, the messy reality of human connection and maybe the masks we wear stay incredibly complicated.
Absolutely. This sentimental hypocrisy, it's about the emotional fronts we put up, the relational facades. Mera describes a world where disguise remains acceptable, indeed celebrated. It's a strong claim.
Celebrated? How so?
Well, he points directly at couples who choose to harbor clandestine companions, secret partners, basically, as if, he says, secrecy were a legitimate release, a valve against routine, an antidote to the erosion of passion.
Wow, so it's not just seen as wrong, but almost necessary.
Yeah.
Or acceptable.
That's the implication. It's less about judging individual actions and more about seeing a societal pattern where maybe we tacitly accept this. People maintain the public image of love and faithfulness, but privately seek connection elsewhere. His insight is that while everything else gets simplified, maybe our emotional lives get more complicated through this kind of performance instead of facing difficult truths.
And he takes it even further, right? Into the family structure itself, this performance aspect.
He does. He suggests that families, often in the name of stability, will transform betrayal into a Pyrrhic victory.
A Pyrrhic victory. Remind us what that means.
It's a victory that costs so much, it's basically a defeat. Like winning the battle but losing the war.
Got it. So applied here.
Applied here, Mera suggests families might cling to the appearance of stability, even if the cost is genuine emotional honesty between partners. The betrayal, the affair, the secret life. It becomes this escape route. But it gets rationalized, painted over, maybe dressed as politically correct somehow.
How could it be politically correct?
Maybe framed as staying together for the kids or maintaining the necessary structure. Perhaps even we have an understanding that allows for it. all while upholding the outward ideal of the monogamous traditional family.
Ah, I see. So you could create a simplified story, we're stable, to cover up a much more complex, probably painful reality.
Exactly. It's about simplifying the ethical and emotional landscape, justifying really complex situations with these neat, convenient stories that let everyone avoid the messiness. But these narratives, Mera implies, are ultimately damaging. We end up prioritizing the performance of family values over the authentic, tangled, real human relationships inside.
That's a powerful, almost, unsettling idea. The lengths we go to keep up appearances, maybe sacrificing real connection, real emotional truth along the way. It really makes you ask, are we simplifying our relationships down to this black and white show of stability, rather than embracing the actual, colorful, messy reality? And what's the real cost, long-term, of simplifying things in that way? So we've journeyed through Pablo Mera's really thought-provoking ideas about this simplified society. It's definitely a challenging way to look at things. We've touched on narrowing choices, communication becoming like a digital telegraph, knowledge turning algorithmic, and ending with this complex idea of sentimental hypocrisy enduring, even as other things get streamlined. He's really pushing us to look under the hood of convenience and speed, isn't he?
Yeah.
To think about the deeper effects of always choosing simplicity over richness. The big takeaway here, I think, is this constant tension. The world offers this incredible complexity, deep interaction, but there's a strong pull, almost like gravity, towards making things simpler, and this deep dive into Mera's thinking really challenges us to examine that pull. So we'll leave you with this to think about. Where in your own life might you be, maybe unconsciously, defaulting to the digital telegraph? Or to the black and white choice, just because it feels easier or less demanding? And what might it actually mean for you, for the people you interact with, to consciously resist that urge sometimes? What richer, more complex, maybe, more challenging alternatives could you seek out instead? What connections, what deeper understanding, what genuine experiences might you actually gain by choosing sometimes to lean into the complexity, not away from it?